She's got herself all worked up now and she can't. Thank you. Well, she just wanted to address Chuck for saying her name in public.
Then we can go right back to
Oh, I get so excited.
No, I get it. I get it. But you know what? She has a disability. And it didn't need to be brought up in public.
Pretty close, 7 o'clock, we're gonna start. Call to order, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do the roll call, everybody appears to be here. We'll start with the minutes of the last few meetings. Has everyone had a chance to look them over?
Yeah, you had the April 5th regular, the special and the equalization on the 12th, and then the special on the 21st.
Does anyone have any questions or corrections of the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johns for approval of the council minutes. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
We have a second by Mr. Dickinson. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Police report, officer hiring. Chief Kevin?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be brief tonight. I only have that on the agenda. On April 26th, the interview board met and interviewed candidates for police officer to replace Sergeant Kircher. When we got done with the meeting and everybody visited and totaled up the points, I gave you each a copy of the application form from Anthony Hill. He's currently going through the Devil's Lake Police Academy and would have graduated on April 30th, but they got delayed to May 13th. But that's when he will be graduating, and it was the recommendation of the interview panel that we hire Anthony Hill. And my suggestion is we start Mr. Hill at $24 an hour. And after his probation and field training is over, we bump him up to $24.48 an hour. And Mr. Hill is married. His wife has been a nurse at Trinity Hospital for 7 years, and he has a 13-year-old son. And he was prior Navy.
I can say that all the applicants were fantastic.
We had excellent applicants that we interviewed. It was really a tough decision by the interview board. Yes, he does.
I'll
Yeah,
make
it
the
was
motion.
All real close as far as the voting and stuff like that. And seemed like a nice guy, shirt and tie. Looked good.
I'll make a motion to offer the position to Anthony Hill at $24 an hour with a 50-cent increase after his, I'm sorry, $24.48 after his initial training.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Ms. Johns and a second by Ms. Cancer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Chief, I know at the end of that meeting, we were going, just in case he did turn it down, we are going to should we make a motion to hire?
That would probably be a good idea, second choice.
Are you talking about the first person, Jenny?
Yep.
I agree with that.
I think
What was
that
his
would be
name, dude?
wise, Mr. Williams.
Denovio.
Denovio, William.
Denovio.
I'll make a motion to offer the position to William Denovio in case Anthony does not accept with the same dollar rates.
I'll second it.
Again, voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. I checked on those speed limit, those
Yes.
radar things today. The cheapest one I found was $2,500. So I don't know if that's something we want to think about or not, or,
Like I said, I'm agreeable to visiting with it, and it's up to the council primarily what they want to do.
Is that for Second Street?
yeah, well, it's a portable unit. It's
Okay, moving
solar
around.
operated with
I know-
LEDs and,
Sorry to interrupt. I know there are grants available through the state, the TAP program or the highway.
Traffic safety
Mhm.
division or traffic safety.
Yep. So I mean, if we looked into that a little bit, I also know that Enbridge is always willing to donate money for safety reasons such as those. So
And as far as the police department is concerned, I'm on board with it as long as the council's on board.
yes, for everybody, what we're looking at is, we were down in Velva for a ball game the other night, and when you come into town on all their speed signs, they've got the radar that tells you how fast you're going and all that. And I think Blaine had mentioned that by his house, they go pretty fast quite often. So we checked on it anyway, and like the one I found was 2,500. There's some they go up to 4,000. They'll tell you that you're going too fast or too slow and that, but
Are you looking at a portable one in the city so you can move it from location to location to get an idea on different areas then?
that's the one I looked at.
Kind of like the state does?
It's just
Leaving it up permanently or just moving it around on main streets?
it's just a box about that
Attaches
square.
right to the sign, to the speed limit sign?
No, it's just the speed, how fast you're going, that's all it is. Mhm.
And we should raise our hands when we're talking.
He's on the council.
I can
Thank you.
tell you that in the last couple of weeks, I've noticed people told me to check the Surrey on Century Page or whatever that web page is. And we covered radar quite extensively in Southwest and Silver Springs and an hour in each location. And sometimes you didn't even get one speeder. So I don't know where people are getting the idea that people are flying and speeding. When the minute they see a car sitting on a street that looks like an Explorer, they're angels. So you can only get the ones that you get for speeding. And that's all I can tell you the reality of it.
If we put it out there, is it gonna be beneficial, or are they gonna get any, like, are they gonna be able to tell how many people are actually speeding on that street, or is it just a warning you're speeding?
I think according to the sign he just made, all it is like if you ever drove on Highway 52, they did Vision Zero, the state did, and put all that money into those signs and no passing on the hillside. And it just basically tells you what your speed is when you go by to see if you're speeding. over the road and it counts how many cars are going by. I don't believe the ones they've looked at are like that.
Just a FYI thing. Okay, financial reports. Thank you, Kevin. Miss Anita.
Your list of claims is there to be paid for the bills to go out. There was an extra sheet that I had on the table on each of your plates today, showing extra ones that needed to be added to that. You have a total of that. You have your bank statements, your payroll for the month of April, and your income and expenses versus the budget.
Does anyone have any questions for Anita? Again, does anyone have any questions for Anita on the financial reports? Hearing none, voice vote, all in favor of, wait a minute, we gotta have a motion first, don't we?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Brent. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Twyla. Now, any comments? Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Okay, we have a public appearance, I guess two of them. From now on, if you're gonna make a public appearance, you have to determine in writing what your appearance is going to be about. So the council doesn't get sandbagged with something that comes up. So, and once we get committees formed, then it'll go to the committees first and then to the council if they deem it necessary. Carla, you're up.
Thank you for allowing me the ability to speak here. And it's funny that that was your comment or kind of a coincidence, because one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight, there's actually 2 points I have. And one of them is to allow the appropriate public input and the time to review issues that are coming before this council to allow the constituents an understanding of what's happening. And it all kind of, my points became more clear as I walked in, because the agenda had changed with the first reading on changes to chapters 2 and 3 of the ordinances, which weren't on the agenda as of Friday afternoon. Now, I know things change as they go, but I think that the changing of ordinances within this city is important enough that the public should have the chance to review what those ordinances are. I'd like to just a show of hands behind the table. How many people right here can tell me what chapters 2 and 3 of the city ordinances have to do with without looking at your notes?
That's been pulled from the agenda. It's no longer discussable.
Okay. All right. Well, and that's my point, is that you do not have a full council right now. The citizens of this town have requested a special election so that each ward has 3 votes on the council. That has been requested by your constituents. And it feels from the seats as though things are getting pushed through as quickly as possible with a council that is not full. There are things that can be contentious, like fireworks, which I am fairly sure I will not have a chance to voice my opinion on, but I can tell you that where I live, I hear fireworks all night long, in the weeks leading up to and the weeks after. The night of the 4th of July, I have fireworks until 3 o'clock in the morning, until an ordinance went into place to ban those fused fireworks within town. Not all of your constituents believe that there should be fireworks, and there may be a smaller portion that do actually want them. And that is something that your public should be deciding. On top of that, I also am questioning whether you are following the chain of command for all your personnel issues as is required by official documents of this city. It feels chaotic and it feels rushed and it feels intentionally rushed to get things done while you don't have a full council. I ask that you carefully consider the decisions that you're making instead of pushing through an agenda of a very small number of people within this town. And I know that you have more constituents who are asking you the same thing because it feels as though it's intentional and it is an agenda of just several people. Right now, you are responsible for the longevity and the stewardship of the assets of this town. That includes our employees, it includes our equipment, and it includes the ordinances that protect our assets. And I ask you to act cautiously. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla.
Can I comment?
Sure.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just wanted to address the idea that the agenda changed. So let's talk to that. If I'm putting out an agenda as fast as I can Friday morning and you're requesting changes, am I supposed to be changing that agenda?
Who's requesting the changes? Council members or citizens?
Well, I can explain what happened here if the
The
mayor will let
attorney
me.
did request to have the ordinance added.
Yeah, so
And
I've
I did
been,
have a member
sorry.
also request to have an item.
all right, so briefly what happened was I've been working on revising ordinances, which is part of my purview as city attorney. I was working on that and I didn't get it to Anita before packets went out. So I provided them late rather than not at all. And when I got here today, I realized they weren't in the physical packets. So I asked that that item be removed from the agenda. The bottom line is if we are going to change ordinances, I'd at least like all the council members to be able to see it first before we talk about it.
Can I also speak to that? I looked at the ordinances on Friday online to look up the fireworks and the ordinances that were on the agenda. And I noticed something that has me a little bit confused in that the ordinances that are online currently have highlighting in the wording that's online. I'm concerned as to who is that highlighting may be just visual only, but to me it's an issue because you are adjusting not the most, it is the most official document of this city. It's being adjusted, number one, by whom, and does the council, are they aware that those changes are being made? It concerns me a little bit that that's being done, again, is highlighting something that needs to be, go through 2 readings? Absolutely not. But it tells me that somebody has access to those ordinances to be able to change them without it going through council.
Right. Well, to answer your first point, I've just been using whatever the ordinance book, quote unquote, is on the website.
Okay.
And if there are any changes to it, to me, what's important is the final version that it becomes. So to be quite frank, if I know what the general meaning is of the statute, it can be rewritten to whatever because the new version is what it is moving forward.
So is that highlighting is that what you're
No.
doing?
No,
Okay.
I go on the city government website and it says, here's the ordinance book, and I click on the PDF and it opens up and that's what I'm working on.
So may I ask who is highlighting the ordinances on the website?
I don't know the answer to that.
I think it was Diane was doing it before when she wanted to make a point on something.
Okay, so no one here can answer as to who has been doing the highlighting on the ordinances at all? Okay. All right.
Someone has to have access to it on a computer somewhere.
Okay.
For it to be done.
Okay, is there a Shelby elder
I
here?
do have a question though in response to what you first started with, that the audience doesn't get to talk. Many times when you sat up here as acting mayor, running the council, you didn't let anyone talk to you.
For the
That's a
first, you're absolutely right. For the
Yeah.
first 2 meetings, and it was because of the contentious nature of trying to get through meetings. I will
Right.
agree with you. I've never denied that
And
before.
we've had, even now
But-
that we're down, Carla, two less people, it was contentious before they left.
it still doesn't, well, and I
Was
mean,
when you were here.
it's been contentious for 4 years, Brent. I don't think anybody is going to
Right.
argue with you on that at all. It doesn't mean that it isn't always appropriate to not welcome public input on issues. That's my point. Is for things like fireworks. Let's come to that. I would hope that there would be public input when it comes to that, but I'm doubting there will be.
To be honest, I was the one that asked to put it on there because I was asked by a few different people,
Mhm.
moms in town that wanted to do fireworks. And I said, I said it was brought up a while back and I said, I think it was too late to even vote on it.
Mhm.
And I said, I'd bring it up.
Okay,
And
well,
really, there's people that want it. I don't think it's right for you to judge if it's the majority or minority on many things, though, that you've made accusations up there, because you're kind of pointing at us up here when it's been kind of a mess for a long time.
well, my thing is just when it's
Not right to point a finger.
when
that
it's
way.
greatly affecting people within the city, and for the history that I've witnessed, and I'm speaking from my viewpoint, that what I've witnessed over the past few months is things are getting railroaded through just because there are only 4 people on this council instead of 6. So it's like it's the timing is right to get some stuff pushed through. That's what it feels like. That's my point. So is that an accusation? For
Pretty
me,
much.
I'll own it. Sure, I'll own it. I think things are getting rushed through because you've got 4 people on there. It's pretty easy to figure out it's going to be 2-2 and there's a tiebreaker. So you're going to go straight forward as fast as you can. That's what it feels like.
But also, I've had comments to me and people talk to me about we're having too many meetings or do you know how much a mess this was that our administrator left us with?
I think that there are a
That's
lot of
little,
if you want to go down that road, Brent, that's something that maybe you or I should do privately instead of putting it out front, because there's always there's always there's a couple. Yeah, and there's paperwork that says the opposite of what you're saying as well. So I mean, there's stories that are getting put out there, and it's not always the full truth. And
Okay.
you know as well as I do that can happen as well sometimes. Yep,
Yeah,
certainly.
your time's up.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Mayor,
Shelby,
can I answer Anita? Can I answer Anita's
Yes.
question? I think there should be like a deadline for you for making packets, possibly like noon on Thursdays. Everybody has to have their stuff in so you can have time just to do the packet. However, in a regular meeting, you can have additions at any time. So if the attorney wanted to add an ordinance amendment, you had every right to do so.
Can you do it? Yes. Is it always a good idea? No.
But
that's
he
the
had every
point.
right to do it. Yep,
Yeah,
at
that's
a
the
regular
point.
meeting, absolutely. So,
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
I
Those
I
two
don't
can
know
sit down.
what
Is
you're even
everybody
talking about, but
thinking that Thursday by noon would work? Because it would work for me. I mean, having it out by Friday and then having it changed Friday afternoon just because I was here. I'm not gonna be here hopefully every Friday half afternoon working 40 some hours a week,
We
it
had
noon
that
then?
at one time, but then Diane would change the agenda as it went clear up until the time of the meeting. So that's why
It's
we
really
ended
up
up
to you
with
guys
this.
how you want your agenda things. I would just appreciate knowing what I'm supposed to be doing.
But if you have till noon on Friday, if you're back to normal, aren't you done at noon?
Yeah,
Noon-
that'd be
gotta
good.
have-
Noon
you need it
noon
earlier than
Thursday,
that.
I think, Brent.
Oh, Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay.
Okay,
For the cutoff.
I think you should.
now
do
it's
Thursday.
Shelby
You guys all
Elder?
good with that then? Thursday at noon?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a Shelby Elder here?
Yeah.
I was handed this, I guess Shelby's not coming, I was handed this, I got from you, I haven't read it myself, but here we go. Greetings. I asked to address the mayor and council directly, as this is not meant to disrespect anyone in any way. I want to express my thoughts and viewpoints regarding a recent incident that directly involved me, which took place at the last regular city council. Personal experience, especially with the medical emergencies. All medical emergencies must be taken seriously regardless of the condition. Mr. Mayor, you specifically named me and spoke about my medical emergency. You not only embarrassed me, but also my family. It was not necessary for you to use my experience in your public address. was, I feel it. If you felt that my experience needed to be publicly spoken about again, you should have asked my permission and should have been addressed in a professional manner. If you don't have my permission, you should have simply stated that the incident involved a Surrey resident. Instead, you violated my right to privacy, and you have been involved in the incident anyway, but it violated federal HIPAA law. I am sure you know I'm a first-year special education teacher at Surrey School. Regardless, we all have a right to privacy when it comes to medical conditions and disabilities. I am not defined by my condition, and I share it on my terms. You use my name and disability in an effort to prove a point to you without regard to my privacy. Intentionally or not, you have not made it possible for my students parents to judge me based on my disability. I want to stress that I am greatly affected by you mentioning my disability, not because I am ashamed of my disability, but because you openly shared my medical emergency with everyone who sat in this meeting, not to mention all those 645 views who are watching online. You have no right to inform everyone of this. I understand the situation was brought up over a year ago. This did not need to be relived only to an unrelated point. I'm asking you apologize not only to me, but also to my family. I also am asking that from here on, when addressing individual or individuals, is addressed in a professional manner and not to name people in first person without their permission, as this can have detrimental effect on their lives, friendships, and careers. The whole purpose of the city council is to come together and better a community, not to belittle each other, certainly not call all of us. I did not volunteer to be included in your agenda, but doing so, it means we are teaching the children in this town that it is okay to disrespect others, and they're willing to co-opt and story in an effort to get people to take sides. It's not about sides, it's about the city and their privacy. Just 3 points at the end here. Mr. Mayor, I'm asking again for your apology for violating my right to privacy. If the mayor refuses to apologize, Mr. Fennell, I'm asking you to make a motion to censure the mayor for conduct unbecoming an elected official in the form of violating my right to privacy. Number 3, I would like it to be noted in the minutes that Mr. Mayor, Ms. Johns, and Mr. Dickinson believe they have the right to violate the privacy of expressing themselves.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a question on the end part. So what is it that my name got put in there for? I
Well,
violated whose rights?
No, that's not what it was.
I guess, being I was mentioned a few times, I would like to, before we go any further, I'd like to review the recording of that meeting to see just exactly what was said. So any response at this time, I would like to table until we can review the recording. Old business. Olson permit in October of 2020. It was decided to give a deadline of April 30th on each complaint.
Kevin?
No. You don't need to do that, Brent.
Thank you.
You can't sit and talk that way like that. Is that right? Do we do it back?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to just say it. That letter was from my daughter, and her name was mentioned specifically in the minutes, in the meeting. I've watched it 25 times, as well as I'm sure has many other people in this room. And that was humiliating for her because this room was packed full of people. And Connie, you can wipe the smirk off your face. I'm done. This is ridiculous. What you did was wrong. And I asked Steve to read that letter because I didn't want to read it. Carla offered to read it as well. Brent, enough.
I have a comment when you're done.
I don't care. And now you're dismissing it again because you can't own up to it?
I simply said I'd like to
You
hear
know
the
exactly
recording.
what you said at that meeting.
No, I don't.
Yes, you did. You can't
Hey,
even,
quiet. We're on to Mr. Olson's permits. Anita, do you have something on that or?
Well, I just give you guys the timeline, and that the condition was that by April 30th, that Mr. Olson, meet the, city of Surrey, the trailer park standards, and get a certificate of occupancy issued for his homes. And to this point, the, inspection was done, on your level of the city. Ward County is accepting that inspection, and the first district has confirmed that their trailer park license is current. So it's truly just information for you guys to move forward with this.
Do you, anybody remember what the original ordinance was or what was written as a resolution? I think the homes had to be inspected and have certificates of occupancy on them by the 30th of April.
Yeah, it's right there on the timeline, number 24.
Okay. September 29th, 2020, public hearing held, motion to provide recommendation that the city council approve a conditional use for the Olson et al. To allow the existing structures to remain as is on the property located at 9560 11th Avenue Southeast, Minot, with contingency that the building permit be obtained for the 3 trailer homes, that they meet both Surrey Code and North Dakota Building Code for trailer court standards, and that certificate of occupancy be met. I believe with all the documentation and the inspection by the Ward County Inspector, I believe these have been met. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make the motion to approve it.
Motion by Brent,
I'll second it.
second by Jenny.
when was it inspected by Ward County?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
When was it inspected by Ward County?
I inspected them myself and they agreed to it.
Yeah, but they didn't inspect it.
They agreed to accept the mayor's inspection.
That's my point.
I was at one time a manufactured housing inspector until I got the mayor job. No, before the building stuff went on.
So it isn't like he doesn't have a past history of doing this, and he just went over there as the mayor and proved it, so I don't.
No, and he probably could do that. I mean,
He did.
I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with. I
the
don't
only
have a
thing
problem with
is it looks bad that he does it. It seriously does. If you want to put your name to it, I mean, that's exactly what it is, Brent.
Well,
I mean,
he
why
put
would
his
he?
name to it.
I know,
I believe in it.
and let him put his name to it. That's fine and dandy.
did.
Put your name to it and good to go.
And then the county had approved it.
I get that. If Chuck doesn't want any liability for the city on it, Chuck should have had the county do it, is all I'm saying. I don't care who the hell does it.
Apparently
Doesn't
do.
matter anyway.
Because anytime the mayor does anything, then isn't it wrong?
No,
That's pretty much that.
We have a motion on the floor. Mike? You have to talk up a little. For a certificate of occupancy,
Right here.
okay,
Right here on 24.
current standards
County approved it.
to, there again, to have a,
I'm just asking, I'm not.
yeah, no, to have a certificate of occupancy, you have to have a working sink, smoke detectors, working bathroom, and handrails on, they are up to manufacturer's installation standards. Surrey and in-town standards are piers and poles. Extraterritorial, I don't know.
So Ward County approved and ain't good enough?
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Let's just do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed.
I didn't hear you, Twyla.
I didn't vote.
Is there a reason?
Nope.
You're just abstaining?
I honestly, I'm not familiar enough with it to make a decision.
Okay, that's a reason.
My opinion is I don't think it was approved by Ward County. They only approved what Chuck said. That's where I have a,
The
issue.
documents are right here, the building
I
permit.
get it. I
So
get
what-
it.
They approved it.
Okay,
You don't get it.
next new business, organization.
So, did that, pass?
Yep.
3-2-1.
What do we have on that?
That was 3 yes, wasn't it? What'd you say? Steve?
I said no.
Just one no, 3 yes, yeah.
2 yeses, 1 no.
Okay.
What was your organization part, Nina?
Organization, has to do with where you guys are at with your position. With the idea if the mayor was not available for a meeting, I don't know that you guys would actually be able to meet. We need an acting president to run a meeting and conduct a meeting. So at least if you guys would, look at, nominating somebody to hold that role.
I'll nominate Steve to be the acting president,
I
I'll
will-
second.
I decline.
just temporarily
Nope, 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 nope,
till
nope.
July.
My opinion on all this, we need to do this now, and then it's gonna change at the special election. When everything's filled up, we're gonna have to do it again. So it's a temporary deal.
It's a temporary deal that I'm not gonna do.
I wouldn't do it either.
Who was the president before?
Mike,
Mike was, okay. Do we have a vice president before?
Elaine,
Elaine, okay.
Can I do 2 of them at once? I make a motion that Jenny's the president and Steve's vice president.
Yeah, I won't do that either. I don't want any part of it.
Somebody needs to be there. Chuck,
Yeah,
you gotta be-
I suggest we just wait.
Well, we can't.
We've waited already.
It should have been addressed the first meeting.
but we've had several special meetings without having a president, even though Chuck has been here.
I know, but you can't just wait. Things have to be filled. The spots need to be filled. It's a few months
Yep.
and then it'll change again.
We have one more meeting before the election, I believe. Either July 1st meeting, no, June meeting and a July meeting before that.
Do you want to hear what Carl has to say on it?
I suppose.
The city attorney is the acting parliamentarian for the city. Can the council hold meetings if the mayor is not present without a president or vice president? And they hold a meeting.
Current ordinance says there has to be a presiding officer. In the absence of the mayor, the council president acts as mayor. In the absence of both, the council vice president acts.
And in the absence of a vice president.
The ordinances are silent.
So they could, it doesn't say that they can't. It doesn't
It doesn't address it.
It doesn't address it, but it does not say they can.
It doesn't say they can't.
Okay, second question, do they have to reorganize after the next special meeting?
After the next election.
After
Yeah,
the next election?
absolutely, yes.
Century Code allows it to be done every 2 years in June.
Don't you reorganize after a special election?
Yes,
After
you have
any
a-
sort of
You
election?
have a canvassing committee, and then you have an organization so that you can move forward on your
Right.
active positions.
Are
That's
you
how,
looking possibly holding one, perhaps, possibly, perhaps, in a rare occurrence, possibly holding a meeting without a president or vice president, you have to elect somebody to act as your presiding officer at that time? Would that
So are you basically just asking us to sit up here on our hands, like kinda you did earlier until the special election's over?
I'm asking you what
That's the
I
way it
talked
sounds
about-
like to me.
What I talked about before is you should have only one other meeting, is that you are waiting for a full council to make decisions which your constituency has asked you to do.
We've asked that anybody be up there, don't matter who it is up here, just to fill that spot for now. We're not judging anyone else. We don't care if it's Steve or if it's Twyla or who. Is to fill the spot. That's our job here to do that.
You're doing it yourself.
Twyla, would you be willing to just be the president until we
That way if
reorganize?
something happens.
I will,
Okay, I'll make a
Just to
motion
make-
to
just to have somebody.
appoint Twyla Ganser as the council president.
I second.
Second, we have a motion to have Twyla be the council president. And by Jennifer. The second by Brent. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
I think we need to go through the rest of it. Fill it out and be done. When I got on the council,
don't.
remember that, Steve? Remember when we got on the council back on here?
Mhm.
What am I a commissioner?
Nothing.
I don't
What are
agree
you-
that we need to fill the rest of it.
Streets and
We
police.
don't have enough people to fill the rest of
Is
it.
it right that you're the police when your wife's the judge? I don't. I think that's just wrong. Put
Okay,
someone else then.
okay, the
and
next,
then,
I think, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, Twyla,
That's okay.
can we go back to what our city attorney had mentioned, which all other all other cities in North Dakota who are a city councilor set up properly, like with the committees, there's 3 different types of council. There's a commission, a city council, and a modern council. Right now, we're running as some sort of hybrid, which it's been called. I would love to do the thing that you proposed, I don't know, about 6 months ago, which is accurate.
I've got an old copy of that laying around somewhere. I can get
If
it.
you want to present it again, that would be
I
fantastic.
can get it to Anita so it can be circulated before the next meeting.
Thank you. And the point of that is, committees should be set up, not just public works. We don't just need a public works committee or a police committee. There's economic development committees, a sales tax committee. There's several different ones. Like right now, the only thing that we're functioning properly is with our park board, as far as committees go. So, and on these committees can sit people from the community. Just an FYI. So I'd love to implement that.
okay, the billing procedure, we
can I
have
talk towards the election as well? I just want to announce to everybody that there is a petition for a special election, which is going to be held July 21st. But we have not received any names of anybody to be on the ballot. So we have until May 17th. So if you guys want to help me get that word out, it'd be great if we had people that wanted to sit up here. Anybody, welcome your public in to sit up here and do this. Because we have now an election that is in place. We're going to pay for it one way or another. But we don't have anybody running.
So when is May 17th?
May 17th is a Monday.
On a Monday?
2 weeks from today.
Mondays from now.
you,
Okay.
you want to do your thing now and make your conference call or can we wait or? Okay, we'll We will move a couple of these items on the agenda to later. We have a conference call regarding the audit. that's
Can I
going
ask
on.
where this is
Where
on
did
the
that come
agenda? Again, it's not on the agenda.
No, it's an emergency thing. It's on the agenda now.
Do you want to ask?
You want a mirror? Do you want a mirror? I'm closed-minded to it at all. But it's not even here.
Do you guys want to vote on adding?
Well, he complains about.
This just came up about 4 o'clock, Twyla.
Couldn't we have known?
And you couldn't have mentioned it at
That's
the
all I
beginning of
wanna
the
know is-
meeting?
I just want to know what the hell we're going to be talking about. That's
Okay,
it.
we're talking about the audit.
And you tell me that 3 hours later.
Yeah, came at 4 o'clock.
didn't
It's
know
now
it.
7:45.
You knew it at 4.
Okay, my bad.
Do you know how many times I've been texted previously at 2:30, 3:30 in the afternoon about a special meeting? And it wasn't when Chuck was the mayor. And it was usually called by other people.
I'm just asking that he to let me know.
I don't know what it's about, something about the audit, that's all I heard. You just said. Think you should wait another month till the next meeting and then,
She asked to give a report. I've been on.
And
that.
that's-
Yep.
At the beginning of the meeting, he can ask if there's any additions or deductions from the agenda,
Yep.
and he could have told us then, is all I'm asking.
Yep. Do you guys want to vote on adding it?
Well, we know how that vote will
No,
go.
just frickin' do it.
it can happen. Raise your hand.
I just would have liked to have known, that's all.
No,
Stop. Stop.
I can give you a little bit of background. I had given her access and all the bank statements. And she's been working on it and asked to give an update.
To go through. Rick, you want to? Oh, okay.
Me typing.
Hi there.
Hello.
All right, how's it going?
Really good. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear her?
not very good.
You want to move it to the middle?
Is there a-
Why is that gonna make a difference?
So we can hear.
How's it now?
Good for me.
Can anybody here? Okay. Well, the meeting's in session. You have some information for us on on your audit.
Yes, I can give you guys an update of where we're at and just what's going on. Shed a little bit more light into what we're seeing. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, we've been working closely with Anita, who's been really great at providing us really quickly everything we need, which has been awesome, or everything we've asked for. And it's coming up. Basically, what we're seeing is a lot of the expenses seem like they're booked correctly in the software, but where we're seeing some concern is over revenues, and specifically over being able to gain comfort over customer account balances. And the reason that that's happening, or what we're finding really, is a lot of times revenue in the door or customer transactions are getting pulled from a third-party processing system and booked as lump sum deposits in the accounting software, which is fine. There's not a problem with that. But the problem lies in, it seems like maybe in mid-2019, back when there was a change in hire, some of the processes that had been used historically to just really preserve the integrity of the data that was being pulled over stopped being carried out. And so nobody was really getting into the details and checking that what was coming over from like the credit card processing systems and being put into the accounting software was complete or accurate. And I think probably the individual that maybe was there before Anita perhaps didn't really know how to do that. So the integrity of that process started to fall apart. And then it's been just this culminating kind of effect of whenever discrepancies come up in reconciling, instead of resolving the discrepancies, the balance just gets plugged, basically to force the bank statement to match to the accounting software. And so really what that means is it's really hard to know for sure whether at this point customer account balances are correct, and to really be able to say with confidence that they are. So Anita and I have been working our way through, because the process kind of seems like fell off the wheels historically, we've been working our way through putting together a process again to get that in place, so that this problem doesn't continue to happen. But where there's some concern, and you guys will probably have to make a decision, is this affects, prior period data in all the way through 2019, and it's a little bit of a different beast than we originally talked about, because now the concern has grown from just reviewing reconciliations and making sure those are correct to really gaining comfort over, gosh, do we have kind of a bigger problem of accuracy of customer account balances because of what we're uncovering as we go back and look at these recs. So that's kind of high level what we're seeing. Let me know if that makes sense or if you guys have questions.
So Megan, what you're saying is that like if somebody made a credit card payment, it may or may not have hit their account?
That's correct. And I would reckon for the most part, they are probably coming over correctly, because to some degree, there's an element of system talking to system. You go in and you basically you can tell one system, okay, it's time to pull some data over to this other system. So you would think in probably most are correct, but the problem lies kind of in the nuance, right? Like when issues are arising, which happens basically every month and pretty much with every batch too that we're pulling over, right? There seems to be at least an issue per batch. Those issues weren't being appropriately investigated and resolved. And I think it's because it's not easy to do. It's complex, and the process that I think back when Jenny was there that she used to carry out, when she left, I think maybe the legacy of that, it just wasn't being carried out in the way that she carried it out previously.
So I can kind of simplify what she's talking about. So when Kim would do the utility billing or take a receipt, like receipt 50 checks, I would then double count that money and then put it into a spreadsheet, which is what our auditors, Rath and Mayor, suggested that we did. So then when it came to bank reconciliation time, we just went back to that spreadsheet, made sure the deposits matched, and everything tallied. The credit card payments are not easy, especially if people pay at the end of the month, because the person taking the receipts can post it in at the end of April, but then it doesn't hit the bank until May 3rd, let's just say. So I mean, it's not an easy process at all. So I get what you're saying.
Rick?
Yeah, I just want to point out, him, my brother right here just mentioned during this conversation that he has paid his water bill and also his landlord had paid the same water bill and then they wanted to collect again. To be honest, I was, well, but you still, we were both, we were charged, and so there's a lot of confusion with it. So, this was brought up, this was just after going through this stuff and speaking, to him, not even about this stuff, he had brought up his water bill to me being an issue, and I actually called the city, this was prior to me ever speaking to anybody about the water bill, and I actually spoke with several other people about water bills and what specifically had been going on with them, and almost put a water meter in my house myself because it was concerning what was going on. Mine did end up being correct, but his situation is specifically speaking to what she's saying, that there is or could be problems. We can say for a fact that there is problems because he's sitting right here with that happening. And if it's happening to him, how many other people could it be happening to? And that's just on the water side.
Yeah, and that's the real risk here is if we don't go back and really look into this and basically, do a deep review of accounts receivable and make sure that customer balances are correct and everybody, who's been invoiced, if they've paid, that payment's been appropriately allocated to their account, then it's really hard to gain. If we don't do that, it's hard to say for sure if people's outstanding balances are right. And that's where I think in an audit, like if we don't go back and fix it, I think it would be, I'm not sure what they would do about that. I don't really know a good way around cleaning it up.
Can I ask a question? When did the plugging of the numbers start happening?
So it looks like it started happening in the way that it's happening, the way that we've seen the pattern, pretty much in July of 2019. So we saw kind of a change in methodology over how the are being reconciled around that.
Is that where you started looking at the audit? Is that when, with the information that was presented at the last council meeting? Or did you go back any further?
So I've looked a little bit at some of the rough prior to that, but I have not requested any of the bank statements or anything like that prior to that, just because that wasn't in the initial scope of what we talked about. And I can tell before, like I have opened a bank record too before, and there are, that module that allows for detail of timing differences is being used still, but not in the same way. So it wasn't being used. So, because what we're seeing now, for example, is I see descriptions sometimes of where a payment is missing, not just a timing difference, but like a payment's missing. And instead of that payment getting actually entered, the in-transit detail will just say missing payment for so-and-so. And the problem with doing that is if you're only entering the payment in that little notes area, it's only as good as that. It's literally making a note on a document. It's not actually applying a payment to anybody's account or anything of that nature. And so that detail, that little tab or module for detailing, when it's really meant for in-transit differences, it started to get used for other types of differences as well. And on almost in every one, I'm sure you've seen, there's also just a random number that basically says something to the impact of missing balance, or it doesn't actually say plug, but amount to reconcile or something. And that number usually ranges from 1,000 to a couple thousand. And it's basically, an unknown amount. The individual reconciling couldn't figure it out. And that's where, it starts to be, okay, well, that's likely payments, like water bill payments or whatever, that didn't get posted or applied to people's accounts. And now we're just plugging that number.
So it sounds like it's mostly credit card payments.
It's income. Like Megan
Yeah.
started back with the older ones, and I attempted to do March because I thought if Diane had it in March, I'm good at numbers. I attempted to get through March's statement. And Megan, I think I did pretty dang good. And I sent it over to her and we came up to this. I don't know if you got it, but I had it
Yeah.
close. We have it close. It's just that
We do.
ongoing unexplainable is what's holding it up.
Well, is it kind of
Yeah.
like, I guess I have a question. Now, if I call in to pay my water bill and it's $80 or whatever, and here's my credit card, you just like run it through the credit card machine, and then you have to go back into the account and just say whether or not I paid?
We don't have a credit card machine. We have an online program. So people go online, wherever you're at, or if they call here, we'll go online for you. And then we have to run those transactions. And then we have to take those transactions and actually put them into the account.
So you have to go back into my account
Uh-huh.
and do it.
So it's a step process. So in that transition, there could
Is there
have
a
been
different type of system we can get?
It's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Correct, but it comes through as batches, so if multiple people were to pay their bill at one time or in the same day.
Yep.
They might come through as $1,000 that day, and then the bank statement shows $1,000, and then it has to be placed in the system correctly. Meaning, I don't know if there's fees, I don't know if that's what's throwing it off or what it could be, but as the batches come through now, it's not $80 for you, it's $80 times however many people call on whatever their bill is. It comes through as one number.
And to take it
That's
even one
exactly
step
right.
further than
And
that,
just to make it a little more fun, a lot of times when you use like a third party processor or whatever, like you guys are doing, when the batches post, there's kind of a rhyme or reason to it, right? Like you can usually kind of sum up, okay, these credit cards all were charged around the same day, and you can kind of usually sum that up back to your accounting software. Typically, that batch would get posted in kind of close to the way it cleared the third party merchant. That's not necessarily the case what I'm seeing with you guys, which is part of what's making it really hard for Anita and whomever was working there before to tie the payments out in the accounting software back to the merchant system. I'll tell you one thing, the merchant system does agree to the bank statement, so that's good. That part's good. It's the tie out or the agreement to the accounting software that's really tricky, and we've got the reporting actually at this point that we need to do it. I'm literally looking at it now, just working on it. But the problem is it just hasn't been done for quite some time.
So the only way you know if a credit card payments were made is either when they hit the bank statement.
well, you get an email, but you can't count on that. So
Right.
like,
Because there could be 3 or 4 days because I have the same thing at school.
and I've told
So-
the ladies in the office now that I would log in every day. I mean, and then I would keep them in order of the receipts that you get them. And just to take the batch thing one step further is that, like, let's say Terry's sitting at home and pays her credit card bills. That goes into one batch on the bank statement. But if Ricky calls the office and pays his over the phone with these people, that goes into another batch. Same day, 2 different
have
batches.
6
And that is
batches
for
for the
municipal
same
court
day.
as well. So
So it's not
basically,
just water.
it could go 4 different batches in one
Could be
single
pet
day.
licenses, could be citations.
Building permits, could be
That's what- I
anything.
mean, that's what you kind of have to stay on top of it.
Is there a solution that you have handy?
I mean, and Anita and I have been working on this today. I don't even know, I haven't gotten to give her an update, but we have we can run reporting. I've figured out reporting. It's a combination of what I can run from your accounting software, the bank statements, and the merchant center. We can actually tie this stuff out. Like if we started right now, we could move forward and gain comfort over over the numbers in the accounting software. But what we can't do is, if we did it just from here moving forward, is ever really confirm for you that the data back in 2019 and 2020 is correct. And so that's where you guys will need to make a decision, because each one of these batches, we're talking, Anita, what do you think, between 1 and 200 transactions a month or so?
Yeah, and
through just the credit card merchant. And so that's on top. It's a lot of work to go through and tie these out.
it doesn't
So-
take just an hour to reconcile. It would take, on a normal, it would probably take a whole day to do a bank reconciliation if everything tied together. If you were looking at things, I need a dated rec.
Megan, in summary, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't know we don't know in confidence what anybody's balances are. We don't know how much money the city has. We don't have any idea where the city financials are with confidence.
With confidence, yeah, I'd say we could guesstimate, right? Like, we know probably the majority of what's being booked is coming in, just because we think we know that, right? Like, that just has to be true. But like you said, we couldn't pick any individual account and say with confidence, like, yep, that balance is right, and yes, this revenue is right, because we know we haven't been appropriately reviewing essentially AR for, since mid 2019. So you're right. Yeah, it would be hard to, I wouldn't place a serious bet on it.
How much is it off? Like $9,000 or something?
We don't know.
Every month it's just different.
It's a trickle effect, because it might be off on a utility account. It might be off on citations that could affect people's,
Basically, if you look at it as your checkbook, you have a bunch of money in the bank, you spent a bunch of money or you received a bunch of money. You only know what's in your bank now, but you don't know what's coming in or going out. Because there's a large sum of money in there, we're not bouncing checks, or we're not, that's basically what's happening. We just have an unbalanced checkbook. And that's where the issue lies, is because we don't know. When speaking with Megan and Sarah earlier, they had told me that it might be easier to fail an audit, which I don't know. That's not my expertise to understand how that works for a city. Can a city fail an audit? If they could, maybe that would be a good thing to do to start from there, because we potentially are opening Pandora's box here of a lot of issues that I don't. Megan, you could speak on that, but it's even coming from the accounting software from the individuals over there, when they had said they were shocked by what they had seen.
Yeah. Your guys' accounting software is awesome. They're super helpful. And yeah, I've called them a couple times and they're wonderful, but we did some screen shares and, they've just verified with me that some of the habits that had been going on in 2019 and 2020 is not how their software was meant to be used, which is good. I guess that we know that. And like Ricky's saying, I've never seen anyone fail an audit before. I'm not sure what that would look like, but I think if your auditors came in and they wanted to, it would be hard to give them the bank recs as they are, and I'm not sure what they would do. I'm not sure if they would be able to express an opinion. And so I guess the question, it really comes down to, but it's a big project, right? Now that we know why they're not reconciling, it's not just like, let's post an entry or two and move on. It's like, wow, we have to go back and reconcile AR as well for 2 years. So you guys will have to make a choice. Like, it's a lot of work. Do we want to do that? Or do we at this point, want to talk to the auditors and let them know what's going on? And, that could be an option as we're talking through it right now. We could communicate with them, like, here's what's happened and see what they say too.
I did have a question. I had a couple of comments. One comment is that the utility billing software and the court procedures were reviewed by Diane when she came in. She went through from top to bottom to be able to find discrepancies on payments coming in between the time when Jenny left and then we had temp employees. So that has been reviewed. Corrections have been made.
Who reviewed them?
Diane did, and Anita, were you part of going through and pulling any of that? Okay. All right, so those have been addressed. The auditor is aware of reconciliation discrepancies. I don't know how far back she went. You would have to ask her, but that was something as the finance commissioner, her and I went through to make sure that all of those were correctly recorded to the best of their ability. So Odyssey is no longer available to us to be able to go back through. Diane felt she got it down to about $2,500. Isn't that what she talked to you about, perhaps? Okay. So it got down to about $2,500, I believe, of additional revenue in the city's coffers for which the city could not account for. So it's not a deficit, it's actually an overage of what we reported for that. So that's number one. And then two, the auditors are aware of the issue. They have been made aware of it. And the initial point was the idea of getting the processes documented that didn't get documented to help the administrative staff follow through with reporting revenue properly. I'm ecstatic that that's happening, but the auditors are aware of the issue. And in fact, Jason Rath was to come at the audit for this year to make the adjustment for the starting point to be able to get it set to move forward. So it is not. Sorry, go ahead.
May I ask what is the starting point? Like, what's the date he would make the adjustment on? Because that's helpful for us to know.
That's a decision that would be made by the auditor and the people working within the office. So I'm not.
It would have to be at the beginning of the audit. Do you know what date the first
They would be auditing
the first
back
day of the
to,
period?
they did not audit the 2019 financial statements.
Okay.
They would be auditing the 2020 financial statements, which would include 2019 as well.
Gotcha. Okay, that's helpful. One other follow-up question for you. So, saying the recs have been reviewed and all that, can you speak a little bit to the plugs then on each of them? Was it just decided
I don't have.
like to pass on
any-
further
I have
investigation?
No control over anything recorded in the system. I can't answer that for you. That would be a good question for the former city administrator.
And the former city administrator is the one that reviewed and signed off on the recs saying that they had been reviewed and corrected.
I have no idea. As far as I understand, the bank
Okay.
reconciliations were done, and there are paper ledgers of bank reconciliations in the desk.
I think we're on the same, well, they're done,
right,
as
they're
in they're
done.
closed, but they're
with
plugged.
They're wrong.
random numbers.
They're wrong though, right?
Yeah.
Apparently.
So, but it sounds
Yeah.
like from what's been discussed up here, most of those wrong numbers are due to timing differences. Is that?
That's just not what I'm, like, I'm reading, that's just,
I see. Okay, all right.
yeah.
Well,
And
I have a
so-
question. Could I ask a question? No. So you haven't been on the council for about a year and what, 4 or 5 months, something like that roughly? How do you know about the auditors, what they're doing or thinking or anything? Why is that? How do you know that stuff?
I'm an accountant, so I know what questions.
No, but what's
to
going
ask.
on, what about out in the city of Surrey though? How do you know that information?
I was the financial commissioner.
You haven't been
the
here
entire
for-
time- For the entire time that I served, so when this
Right.
came up and Diane was discussing it with me, this is something that we worked through to be able to decide how to address it. And at the time, we said to address it with the auditors to be able to figure out that number. So again, it came down to roughly $2,500 that she was able to bring. That was the last reconciliation discrepancy.
But isn't
I
it since
don't
that
want to
time, they
contradict you,
haven't
but
been
that's just
fixing
not
it?
the discrepancy that I'm seeing. Like, I'm seeing about that much on every rec.
No, I don't think that that's everything. I'm saying that's a we've got about 3 onions to peel, and I get that. There are about 3 onions to peel, it seems like.
Yeah, I used to audit public companies back in the day, and kind of my bread and butter is I often will come into a nonprofit and kind of work as the liaison team. I've never heard of an audit team that can come in and handful to the extent that these guys are going to have to if they come in here, because it is a conflict of interest typically. So they can propose a journal entries or adjustment entries, but there comes a point when it is, first of all, they can't propose a beginning balance adjustment entry if the discrepancy between of the issue that we're looking at is material, right? Like, and that depends on whatever they deem to be material. And then, so It could be they just say we can't do that, like based on magnitude, but maybe not. Maybe they'll say it's small enough we can do it. But also, even though they can propose adjusting entries and help a little bit with guidance, it would be a conflict of interest for them to come in. They wouldn't be able to take on a project like this. And maybe that's okay. Maybe they're going to say, in some world, this is okay. I've just never seen anything like this be okay with any other audit team. But you know what? If they come in and they say, we're going to pass on further investigation of this and we'll just start anew, that is, then I'm supportive of that as well. We just couldn't ever for sure say people's account balances were correct historically.
If they were to come in and audit us.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Carla, I want to go back to something that you said before. You said that something to the effect of it actually looks like the city maybe has a surplus with some of these.
That's what I understand from the last time I.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to advise the council that they should probably stop talking about this. I would like authorization to talk directly to, and I'm sorry, your name is Megan on the phone?
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
That I talk to Megan about this, and at some point we either have a special meeting with an executive session for me to talk about this a little bit, or we have an executive session at the next regular meeting, because it's not really a great claim that we have money we're not entitled to. If that's the case, then I need to talk to the council about that.
I
So
agree.
I'd recommend that the council table this discussion until some future meeting.
I'll make that motion to table the issue.
Motion to table, second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. In the meantime, would you like me to do you want me to hold off? Do you want me to?
I'll be in touch with her.
What would you like me to do?
Megan, this is Andrew Schultz, city attorney. I will get your contact information from Councilwoman Johns, and I'll probably give you a call tomorrow morning or Wednesday morning.
That sounds great.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Back to billing procedure amendment.
Which one?
Billing procedures.
Sorry, I think this is me, right, Anita?
Yes, you would,
Oh,
send this.
Okay, so.
Regarding the deposits.
So this was something that we stopped doing probably, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years ago, was collecting deposits, just because we were told at one of the League of City conventions that, and again, City Attorney Schultz, please stop me if you don't want me to say it anymore, but holding people's deposit money, we essentially could owe them interest.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so we had applied everybody's deposits back to them and not taken them anymore. They have been taking them now, and it is a confusing process, to say the very least. And I just ask that they hold off until I told everybody about this. Basically, it's a liability to the city to have that much money, number one, sitting in an account, but number two, for a resident to then possibly ask for interest for their money if it hasn't been refunded. In a reasonable time period, I guess.
Resolution or amendment or ordinance, or what would you like?
I don't know. I think we list as an amendment, but I would take the city attorney's advice on that.
Did you have time to look at this, Andrew?
Yeah, it's fine if the council wants to have a first reading, it can be reviewed and then second reading at the next meeting.
So are you looking to return them and no longer take deposits, right? No?
Yeah, I would then, if we pass this, I would ask that not all in 1 month, but, a few at a time, which is what we did 4 or 5 years ago, is we would do up to 500 refunds, $500 worth of refunds in a month.
Have a motion by Councilman John to refund deposits.
Well, my motion would be to,
Have a first reading of the
yeah.
amendment.
and then essentially, we would get to that next part.
Motion by Ms. John, do we have a second? We have a motion by
Yep,
Ms.
second.
John.
I
Do we have a
second. I second.
Second by Brent.
So I guess I'm kind of confused because you said that at one point in time, the city was taking deposits from people and then you just kind of quit doing that. And
Uh,
then it started again.
we went to a League of Cities convention, and we were told that deposits were basically shied upon, not to do it anymore. If you did do it, like, you had to be right on top of it. After, I don't know if it was 90 days or whatever it was, you had to refund that money back to them anyways. So there is other ways, minus going through this whole, and you can ask Terry how confusing this process is, because it is. Going through this whole headache, if there is somebody who has not paid their bill by October 31st, well, then the money just goes on their taxes anyway. So sooner or later, you're going to get your money. I just don't think that this is the correct way to do it. So to answer your question, yes, we did used to do it until we found out about it. And then after the changeover in administration, they must have started doing it again.
Well, yeah, we didn't know if there would have been a change in policy, was it written change?
Exactly.
So this would actually just put it in writing.
So my question is, and I'm going to ask about the record keeping. So how is the record keeping for just this specific item? I mean, like, can
I'd
you?
put it in an amendment book is what I would do.
Well, I'm asking, like, right now, how do you know who owes money or who you owe money and how much you owe them?
You have to enter a deposit into the utility billing system.
If it's right.
I
Exactly.
mean, the office sat empty for a long time. I mean, we had a, I don't know.
Nobody
It
must have taken
concerns
money
me.
if no one was there.
Concerns me.
Online.
I don't, yeah, you can still pay online.
Other
So, wait, so to go back to what you guys saw talking earlier, if you're gonna choose to do that as well, I understand it's the first reading, but how can you go back and return money to people right now if you don't even know where your money is actually at, whether you are a plus or a minus, and then you're gonna start reimbursing it back to people whether your accounts are correct or not? That doesn't seem logical.
I guess I like, is it thousands and thousands of dollars, like tens of thousands of dollars, or?
I would just say anytime there was either a new house built or a move in or move out, or I should just say a move
Yeah,
in.
it's $100 each time. Or
In the last 4 years,
so-
Let's just say 2 years though.
2 years. I wouldn't think it's that much. Yeah, I thought about it too. I don't think it's that much money.
But Terry can pull that up, right? You can show where deposits, where there's positive in the money, and
I'm just gonna make it very clear, when I came to this town, it was the most confusing process I've ever went through in my entire life dealing with that, because I'm like talking to my landlord, they just get it set up. I say, well, there's a deposit, what is going on here? Like, I didn't pay a deposit. I'm like, okay. There, I talked to my brother, which bought a home or built a home, he said, I didn't pay a deposit. And I'm like, okay. Well, that's what I'm saying, nobody knows. I'm like, well, I'm just paying a deposit, and even the people at the city didn't know what was going on with it or the process, we were just taking a deposit.
When was that?
Exactly, so both of us took a deposit, and then I sat for probably 5 days talking to people, different people, and they were like.
When did you move here? Can I ask you when you moved here? June of 20?
So it was just all confusing, so it's.
Well, we need to set policy.
isn't this kind of a legal thing? It sounds like we need to return it.
Yeah.
that we return the deposits.
Not that part, Chuck. I would just,
No, the motion is just to approve this change on first reading. That's it.
Oh, that's that, okay. We have a motion on the floor to approve the first reading of the ordinance amendment. Motion by Brent,
Jenny,
And then I
second by Mr. Dickinson.
okay, roll call vote, Jenny,
Yes.
Brent,
Yeah.
Lyle,
Yes.
Keith,
It's not that I don't agree with what they want to do. I'm going to say yes on it, but I guess I do have an issue with changing ordinances. I think Carla kind of brought it up as far as changing ordinances with only 2/3 of a council. But at this point, I'll say yes.
Instead of changing the ordinance, can we just direct the staff not to take any more deposits rather than making a change at this point in the game?
We had told everybody on the
Your
speakers
ordinance
that
is
we
what
are-
dictates how you do things.
I'd return it.
We're not talking about returning it right now.
I know,
We're
but
just
that's
talking about
what's in the-
changing the ordinance.
There's already been a vote.
Group 3 fireworks ordinance amendment. Brent, you brought this up. Did you have something?
I just had people ask me about the fireworks. I don't have a, there was people asked me that they want it, and they've actually asked in the past, and I never really, usually gets to be about June or July, and then it's too late.
And current ordinance says fireworks are not permitted, feasible ones, correct?
Correct.
It would need to be, have a second reading. I mean, like I say, it ain't a big deal to me. I was asked to bring it up, so, you know.
I guess I was mayor when we actually banned them. I guess I remember the meetings leading up to when we actually did get rid of it. You had a lot of residents that did not want them anymore, whether it was too much noise, too late, their pets, they were a veteran. There was just always somebody wanting, and there was somebody that always wanted them. But to us, when we said no, it kind of came down to, it's not that we were against fireworks. I mean,
Yeah.
they're a
I'm
good
kinda-
thing in the right spot, but it was more of the right thing to do for your neighbor, basically, was to not have them.
I
And
agree
that's
with
when
you.
we said no.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I would say this would be a bit good ballot measure. Like, obviously, the fire index is going to be way too high to have fireworks this year anyways. So placing it on the next ballot would probably be our best bet and let
I
the
agree with
people
that.
vote.
Let the people vote on it, 'cause it was brought to me. I don't really matter to me. I'm neutral on it.
I would agree. I think, it seems it's always kind of a hot topic, and maybe if somebody actually would, put their name in the hat to get on the ballot, maybe you'll have people that will actually come and vote just because that's on the ballot. We did try to put something on Facebook at one time. I talked to Mr. Vaughan about it, and Jason said we might have had 10 people that said something, yes or no. I mean, you're either going to have it or you're not, and I think you need to probably let
We
the
can't add
residents
it to the-
decide.
We can't add it to the special election, and that's too late for something
Yep.
like
It's
that.
I
too
don't know.
late. It's too late to add it, I'm sure. There's so
Like I
many.
say, I just was asked to bring it up. Like I say, I'm neutral on it. I think it'd be a good idea as long as it wasn't too dry, but,
But at the end of the day, it all floats down to whatever the fire index is, like Jenny said.
you'd have. if it
This
was-
year, it's gonna be a no.
Oh, I don't agree with
I
that.
mean, unless we get a
It
lot of
rained.
rain between now and the end of June.
I bet it isn't high right now, is it? We had rain.
Oh
this
my God.
morning. I don't know what it is.
It's-
Yeah, it's
But
high.
we didn't
I
get
didn't.
any rain.
We
Spark
did- I
something
guess
with my
I was
shoe
by
right now.
Berthold and west of mine, and there was, fields were wet.
That's due. That dries.
Right now,
It would have to be something that is, what the burn ban was following that.
Well, it's on here. It's on here. The fourth item is bulleted. If the index is
Right.
extreme fire hazard by the Surrey Fire Protection District between July 3rd and the 5th, then it's a no.
Do you want to talk to Heather again? I said, you want to talk to Heather again?
I suppose,
What if we do something like Minot does, instead of having it open to the public for everybody to do, we either have a designated area in town? Like, the edge of town, I think, is a little cool, and I think Lancelot owns that little piece of land that has the hard surface tracking over there that's fenced in, where we can confine it to a smaller area where there's no real houses nearby. Or maybe we do like what Metagoshi does, where we put a pot of money together and the city, and maybe we can get the fire department to light up fireworks for the whole city when we have an event. So
See-
that way we could accommodate, but at the same time we can control it.
That pot of money you're looking at, you know how much money that is?
That's a lot.
You
And
get,
I'm saying that, like, if people really want it and everybody wants to have something, you gotta start somewhere. And it's a group growing process, but yeah. I understand.
Any further comments?
I guess I don't think as far as a farmer, anyone that own a property in the edge of town's gonna wanna have the liability of whoever's out there, you know. And that area where the racetrack is, I don't think it's much bigger than this parking lot.
It's not big, but you don't have hundreds of people in the same area.
Right.
And if we
But,
had-
no, it's a good idea, just to find a spot.
So kind of cost, kind of line up to 10, I think then you control your sound and everything.
Just another note on that, it seems as though a lot of people complain about the fireworks before and after the Fourth of July. I'm not sure what you guys are considering with that, but personally, if it's on the Fourth of July, I don't really care that much, but when it's before and after, all night, that's where it becomes a problem for me. I can
Right.
accept one day.
Yeah.
but all the rest of them.
Well, and after the 5th of the July, they're not even legal.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know exactly what we were talking about, if it's one day. then-
No, I would have been just for the fourth, you know. That's, like I said,
Yeah,
I was
but
asked to bring it up.
One of the issues that Quinn brought up was that is the cleanup afterwards. People will fireworks all over the place. You wanna do something about it or just table it?
Don't sound like anyone else up here has much interest in it, and I'm kind of neutral, so I brought it up.
Public Works, crack ceiling.
So after our special meeting, y'all asked me to look for motors for the crack seal machine, used motors, and try to get a couple of bids in. I reached out to 3 companies and I only heard back from one by close of business today. So I can only have one quote for you. And that is $11,620 to do all of Northeast and Northwest. However, nobody in town sells used motors. I reached out to Acme Tools. Company policy says no used motors allowed to be sold. The guys who looked at ours don't have any leads on the motors that we need. I found one on eBay that's in New York, local pickup only. How far do we want to go for it? I can keep looking, but we're not finding the motor that we need. We're finding a lot that are similar, but not exactly what we need.
This,
Similar motors, mine.
doesn't this motor gotta have a side shaft or something?
I can't remember if it was a
I
side
was
or
thinking one of you guys
the
told me that.
bottom.
It mounts kind of on the side.
I can't remember if the shaft is on the bottom of the end of the motor or this middle. It's a weird
it's on
motor that
What are the chances of a bridge bolting up to the?
that one that we found at Harbor Freight is a exact match.
That man?
It is an exact match.
That one was $900. Is that right?
I'd have to double check my notes, but it was just, they're under
I think it was
$1,000.
just, yeah.
960, something like that.
If we buy you a motor, are you gonna be able to crack seal it spring, or, I mean, it's gonna be summer soon.
Yeah, we should be able to.
I know we don't wanna spend $11,000 to do half the town. Can you put that machine inside?
There's no place to put it exactly.
You can cover it with a tarp and get it in the shooting shed.
We can look into a tarp for the motor maybe, but I don't know if I have a tarp.
That's a bad thing. You leave equipment sit outside and it just goes to heck sitting there, you know. Just,
Okay, do we need a motion to spend that money, or that money's already in, they're allowed to spend up to $1,000 without going to council? We need a motion to approve that, or just let it go?
he can do it.
Yeah, it wasn't a budgeted item. So I would say you would need a motion.
And we'd feel safer with the motion.
I'll make a motion to spend up to $1,000 to get that mower.
I'll second it. Make sure you don't pay tax when you buy it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't think that's gonna fix our problem.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know what's.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way around it. It's,
Need something else just gonna break on the machine?
Well, I mean, if it's outside, it's gonna get water in the gas station.
We will look into a tarp as well when we buy the motor.
Is there?
Yeah.
Here's, I mean, this, I guess this ain't on topic, but maybe we better put an address where we look at a building to rent to put some of our machinery in for the winter.
yeah,
Might not need a big area. Just them items shouldn't sit outside. It's no different than that street sweeper. There's no way with all the moving parts that should sit outside.
I mean, do you build something back here? I don't know.
We were looking at an option of expanding the shop back to about the end of the building here. Another option we have is Legacy Fence is selling their shop still. We
Where's
looked at
that?
one. Is it that much? Oh, never mind then.
It'd be a nice shop for you.
Not quite
We're
that
not
much.
spending $900 on a motor for you, but we'll buy the shop.
Put it in your garage. Fred's got room in front of his garage.
No, I don't. Don't
We
in the
were
park
to-
where I live.
We were looking at moving the shop or building the shop back a little bit just so we had an extra 20 feet of room. The cost is
Right now, it's ridiculous.
exactly. With that though, do we wait 5 years and try again? But then why didn't we do it 20 years ago when it was cheap? You know,
That, is that shop at Ashenburners? They used to rent that out many years ago. I suppose that's, they don't rent it out to
I
park
don't know.
stuff in there?
I have no idea.
where's this at?
Oh,
Okay, okay. With them trying to sell it, they may not be renting it anymore.
they used to somebody did a long time.
You get a good deal on red can.
Well, you could even take it down to the fairgrounds inside. I think that was $75 a month or something for like a camper. I don't know.
Well, fine.
Find out something like that, check into it so we can put them few items inside. We're gonna spend $900 on a motor, you just throw have it inside.
Yes, sir.
Next item, Wayne Klein.
Blaine just wanted it to be known that if we did crack sealing, that is a heavy traffic road and there was bad spots. What is it, First? Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Well, yeah, it's, John and AJ spent a lot of time, energy into crack sealing all these streets here and then my street, every one of them is cracked again and, new cracks, several developing. And I think on our street, it's from the farm equipment going down it. And, you're talking on those air seeders with the fertilizer and seed in them, they're running 25, 30 ton per machine, and they're going down there every day, twice a day. It's pretty much just one farmer out here that does it. I think if they could stop that, that'd save on that street. That's the newest paved street in Surrey here, and it's getting the worst abuse. And the only street that farm equipment goes on, other than County Road, but that's a different street again. It's built for heavy equipment and trucks.
I thought they changed that a while back, Blaine, or was it just semis? Farm
It
equipment
was
didn't get
just-
stopped?
It was just semis. Yeah. So I'd
Yeah,
like
I
to see
guess I
the
remember
farm
that.
equipment quit going down that street too. There's farmers on both sides of Surrey that go around Surrey. And this one over here, he goes right through Surrey all the time. There's no reason
How
why
did
he
they get-
can't do like
How
The
do they
rest
go
of-
around, Blaine?
Either around on that highway or over there by, Neaters, around that way. Yeah. Steve Larson, he drives, he's from, north of mine, and he comes and goes, farms all this Coughlin land over here, and then Balmers go back and forth on both sides of 32, and they go around. Yeah.
I think it's a farm to market road though.
I think we discussed that before, and we didn't, there was nothing we can do.
I don't think you can control it.
How can it be a farm to market road when it's a city road?
Well, it's in the
City
city.
street.
It's in the city, but they still need to have access, is the way I was understood.
Yeah, but the rest of the farmers go around, you don't see, Minot making a farm to city. road
Well,
in Minot.
Minot is Minot. I mean, we're a small community, and if he's here, I believe that he has to have access instead of going all the way around, is the way I understand it. Carl, am I wrong?
I'm not absolutely sure you have to bring Dana Larson into the conversation, but as far as I understand, it's the USDA designation, it's a federal designation, isn't it, Jenny?
I'm looking right now.
But that used to be a county road, and it isn't anymore though.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, they swapped that out with Pleasant.
You wouldn't get any equipment down with the sidewalk things there for the track.
Correct.
It probably was a farm to market road when it was a county.
I think that's separate from, I think that's separate from Collins. I think it's a separate designation.
Yeah, it's not a county road. That's, well, we paid for the pavement on there, so it can't be a county road.
100% not a county road, but to change that farm to market thing, I think you probably would have to go through, I mean, start with our city engineer, I guess they would know the answer. If we can remove that title, but
Is there a designated farm to market road in Belva, do you know? of? Well, you can't go that way because of that railroad track over past there. Equipment's too high.
well, I guess I'm talking about the entire. No, I don't know exactly. I would say the Carlsruhe Highway to the elevator.
It used to be you could pull in nitrous tanks through on that road. I don't know if it still is.
I don't think so.
That was in the nineties when I farmed, there was, you could pull them through town, as long as you didn't stop, just on that road.
I think they can't do that anymore, I don't think.
Maybe they changed.
Yeah, but they allow that nitrous tanks on the street anymore.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They used to, I know.
I mean, we visited this when Dana actually sat in the council, and there was nothing at that time that, so I have no idea. I mean, Dana didn't know what to do about it, except leave it as is.
But I feel as that us as residents paying to keep that paved.
I understand. I know
we
exactly what
shouldn't
you're
have to
saying.
put a-
Yep.
you
I
know,
agree.
Why should we pay for the pavement if
Everybody
farmers
gets to use
coming
it.
around abusing it?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anita, would you mind calling the city engineer and just seeing if they have any insight into that? Or, Attorney Schultz, if you could,
Find
Maybe
out
that
what's
would be-
legal or what the story is, and that Benita probably has enough going on, maybe.
Yeah, I can do that.
At least we can maybe look into it, Lynn.
Yeah, okay.
put it on next month's agenda?
Well, thanks for your time.
Other, see, we have, report from the, engineer.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys since he's not here tonight. But we had a lot going on. The Prairie Dog Committee met. And that is to come up with solutions for the money that was distributed last year. I think they talked about possibly looking at televising the sewer, the lagoon, looking at piping at the lagoons and repairing that, it would be a benefit for an everybody benefit for the community. It was an idea that was suggested for that money. And then there was, the sidewalk project that's gonna be going through Pleasant. That's gonna be starting here at the end of May, so there's gonna be, some detouring happening while that happens. It's gonna be on the church, the road from the church, is that, I don't know, by Karma? And then through Pleasant, so, our residents should be aware that that's gonna be happening. We'll get some signage and some stuff out for them, hopefully. And then the quiet zone, renewal is just something on there, reporting that, I'll have to get on that and, be included on that to leave where Diane had left off. If you guys have any questions about his report on this, let me know when I can get back to him.
I do know that televising the sewer system, the North Dakota Rural Water Systems Association, they actually do that for free. And then, of course, I would completely agree with looking into the lagoon upgrades, though.
The committee that met was more on the lines of trying to utilize that money to benefit the community as a whole. To trying to wrap your head around a project that wouldn't be just for the southwest side or the Silver Springs or the, that it would be a whole thing. So infrastructure would have been something that would have been good to look at, is what the message came out of that meeting.
That's about the only thing would be the lagoon of some sort.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be easily. I think it can be used for a building of some sort.
I don't think it can.
There's restrictions on it, right?
I think you can't do roads and stuff, but you can do underground.
No, you can
and
do
stuff.
roads.
You couldn't do paving and stuff, could you?
I don't
thought
think you
it was-
can do paving.
There's some kind of stipulation for a building, though.
There was a lot of stipulations with the money. There's also gonna be federal money coming down our line. So that's gonna be something that, we're gonna wanna put together. And I'm sure the engineer is gonna be on top of it too.
Can you check on the building thing, just so we know?
If there would be,
Of some
building
sort,
money.
well, some kind of a building thing. I mean,
There should be something put out here eventually for cold storage. Doesn't have to be huge.
I know that, I mean, what John was just saying is a fantastic idea. I know they've talked about that for years, extending it back, having a garage door that you come in through the back even, I mean, 2 access points, possibly not having 2 access points on the ends, but having it on the south side of the building and having, 4 stalls, whatever. I mean, there's a stipulation in there and I can definitely, I need to look into that myself.
Okay, League of City Spring Workshop, Sarita Olson.
Yeah, that's just my information for you guys. I did go to the League of Cities, and as always, it's awesome. I come home just excited with information because we talked about, can small communities be cool? I honestly think they can. I mean, really, if we had people that actually wanted to get out, get on their feet and help do things, we could do a lot of things in our town. So to have that can-do attitude, let's do it, PERS was they have a tax-free insurance, right now, as far as health insurance, where Blue Cross is not not a tax-free ratio. There's a lot of things we learned about the legislative updates, alcohol being one of them. There's gonna be, some things coming through for special permits. If you have special events, your booze is not gonna have to be separated from your beer. And then you'd be able to change your ordinance if you'd like to be able to open up on Sundays if, your establishments wanted that. That's all, whatever your city wants to do. again, that federal money, that American Rescue Plan, that's gonna be coming down the line. We're gonna have 3-year cap on using that money. But it sounds like it's, there's gonna be eligible projects, infrastructure projects. So some planning could go into that. Social media was huge and stuffed down our throat because a council meeting, could, not that it's a council meeting, but we, should all be aware that whatever we put out on a quorum or on a forum could be held as public record. And try not to, use your position of power to influence anything that would happen, within the city. So that's what I came home with. I wanted to share that, and I also wanted to share those packets that I went to the school with. Those kids have some really cute comments in there if you guys want to take a peek.
Thank you, Anita.
We already approved the extra claims for the,
Yep.
John has something.
John, sorry to add in. We just found the stuff for the hurry up one, and we're not seeing anything about structure, unless you have an airport. I don't want to go to
Why not?
Yeah,
All
we
the
got
cool
room on
kids
there.
are doing it. All the cool kids are doing it.
What if we named it John Doyle International Airport?
Anything that says building. It's structure, it's building infrastructure, building.
Well, even with this next money, maybe it's in there. We'll just have to check when that comes.
We have to keep a tight rein on whatever we spend that on, because that is federal grant regulated, so there's gonna be a lot of paperwork.
What's the end of the agenda?
What's this last item, signage? Did I miss something?
Oh, the signage, John. Where did he go?
I don't have that in mind either.
Neither do I.
Sorry, guys.
Let's talk about that when we're
Lot of
done. I got one thing, I
versions
guess.
in the agenda.
Packets.
Apparently, there's a lot of versions,
There was 2.
and there must be 3 because signage isn't on his.
Okay.
It wasn't on the first one.
Shelby's wasn't on mine either.
Okay. So me and Chief Howe were speaking on signs that we'd like to add around the city. One of them was Mayor Tolson's suggestion for a 4-way stop at 4th Avenue Southwest and 5th Street Southwest. Chief Howe says that that is a good spot, but possibly to add a 4-way stop. It might slow them down.
Oh, that's right by Peason's, right? We talked about that last meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that should be done.
Yep. Well, that's gonna be
It
the
goes
start.
right into that corner, don't it?
Yeah, it's gonna be the start of the sidewalk is right at that 4-way.
Still putting in a flashing light there.
No, sir. Not according to the blueprints.
That's what they talked about.
With the school bus stopping there and stuff, I mean, I would definitely recommend a stop sign. I don't know if we need I'm sure we need a motion to do it, but
What do we gotta do to
So,
get
and
that done? It was brought up at last meeting. What do we do?
we were told to,
didn't do it.
or
The
we had
police were gonna-
recommended talking to the city engineer, and y'all recommended talking to Kevin and coming up with a decision. So at this point, we've just decided we'd like to do it. So we need either you guys' blessing or just, either way, we're gonna need 2 stop signs for that and 2 poles at minimum. And then there's a couple other signs we'd like to add as well.
Cause there's 2 on the north-south.
It's a
Road,
north-south stop, so we're gonna need east-west stop.
Okay,
So 2 signs, 2 poles.
just need a motion to buy them and to install them or?
I'll make a motion to install 2 stop signs at the corner of 4th
Do
and
you want to go
5th.
through all of them, or do you want to make one?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just curious.
I have a question. Are you going to remove the other 4-way stop? Or is it going to be,
Be a stop.
It'll be a stop, a block, and then a stop. Oh, it's 2 blocks.
because where the first 4-way stop is a dead end on the one end. Mayor's house is down the other end, but it's a dead end on the other end.
Yes.
Okay.
We'd also like to add 2 15-mile-an-hour signs along the school road one for westbound facing traffic at First Avenue, and one for eastbound facing traffic at Third Avenue. Just to,
To cover when they turn onto that road. 'cause
just as
it's-
a friendly reminder that it's 15 miles an hour, watch out for kids, kind of thing.
We need to have a sign there for watch out for kids too.
We can. We were-
Seems like there's a lot of complaints. So we should do something to.
And then finally,
whatever-
You can add them.
You know what I mean? Something so it sticks out, something that's, cause I mean, there's a lot of complaints. I don't go on the
we're,
uncensored page, but I hear about it.
we're gonna be adding them so that they're facing as you're leaving that street. So we can add those I think there's watch for children as you're first coming onto Second. I'm not sure about. I'll have to look at that up.
Sign it up as good as we can.
Okay. We'll look into that.
We
further.
just put cross.
I know that,
signage there.
Chuck, those flashing signs that you were talking about that you saw
The other roads.
going to the school or park in Belva, those have made a huge difference. And those all were, there's actually 3 of them. There's one by the swimming pool and 2 on the way to the school. And it's like night and day difference.
What did they put in?
It was a total of like $10,500. So like if we could get something like that, I would totally recommend Second Street north and east and west, and then one by the school. And permanent.
You're talking
Those-
like the railroad signs, but a crosswalk? Is that what they-
Like the ones that say your speed, the blinking light,
The ones that we talked about at the
Okay.
beginning.
the solar.
When you come in north of the base, they're there. They come in down, isn't it 16th? They're off and on places.
They're fantastic.
And finally, there's a couple of yield signs that just don't match with everything else. 4th Avenue Southwest and 4th Street Southwest, they're both yields. Everything else is stop. So we're just curious, do we leave them as that's, yep, a block up from Thiesen's house. Do we want to leave them as yield? Do we care?
Kevin, hadn't you, the only question I had on what their thinking was in the city, I don't know at the time, why that's the only street that has 2 yield signs on that whole street, and everybody else has stop signs. So to be consistent, my recommendation was to accept.
That'd have been the engineers when they paved it all. They came up with whatever song and dance. That's how it has to be, but
So do we want to leave it as is? Do we want
it don't matter to me. I never drive down there.
I think we should put that 4-way stop in and stuff, just because, the sidewalks going there, slow the people down, they come through that dip. It's a straight shot through, put a speed bump in, whatever.
I agree, there's enough traffic. Question for John?
Yeah, so I just have a statement in regards to the sign that you wanted earlier. I know it's not what we're speaking of right now, but there are, radar signs that do reporting and stuff like that, how often people are speeding. If it's one easy hot spot, the police will be sitting there, things like that, for that price tag, $2,500, and that's online pricing. So there's, priced out from different companies. So they will do that. It'll be a lot more used than just being a flash.
It'd be nice to record it, to know what you're looking
Yeah.
at.
Exactly, so we can tell, hey, this is a spot that's really used.
Thank you. I agree with that. You got all that, John?
So that's all. What do we, out of those 3 options, we want to do the 4-way for sure? Do we want to do the speed limit signs or anything else, or just 4-way for sure?
Well, if you and the chief, drove around and came up with these, I would, I guess, make a motion to approve as presented. Mhm.
We have a motion to approve all 3 of John's suggestions. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Twyla. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Joe.
One thing real quick, since we're on other, it looks like, no, you can go. We've had some confusion as far as the packets, without a doubt today, whether you got some, I didn't get some, that sort. Can we just do a little better job as far as packets and maybe have a little more information on them as well? Like everything that John kind of brought up, even if it was in like a paragraph or something, that this is what it is before we get here. I mean, I know we're going to talk about the street sweeper, but I mean, if you would have a $900 bid on this and $11,000 bid on that. It just gives everybody a little more information as far as,
And I think you need to go back.
yes, I mean, you don't feel as if you're left out in the cold.
And then I think too, put it in so you have the mayor's spot, and then put your auditor spot in there. You know what I mean? Just so then if you got a little description of what you want to bring up.
Yeah.
And even if it's 50 things or 2 things, hopefully it's 2.
Okay.
I mean, back in the
No,
day,
No,
we
I'm
would,
just kidding you.
Well,
we would literally have a front and back as far as the agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just I mean, it was pages that this is what we're going to talk about. This is why he was bringing this up. So we knew going in.
Okay.
And I think you
totally
need to
appreciate the direction.
be careful when you're copying like the minutes, because I know some of mine were on the back of the agenda and then I didn't know where the third page was or if there was a third. So
Oh,
just be
yeah.
careful when you're copying the minutes that you get them together so they're not hard to follow. Well, you can follow the pages by the line, the sentencing and the wording, but I had one page that had a paragraph at the top. I had no idea where it went.
I mean, again,
So-
even we're approving financial reports and bills, and there isn't $1 amount on any of it. I mean, I know they're in
We
this
have your bank
packet thing.
statements.
Yeah, but we don't approve bank
Yeah,
statements.
but on the, I mean, if we literally knew it,
Like that, I was trying to do the math really quick before I made that document, to add all the receipts together. So payroll should have a total that we're approving and the bills.
Okay.
like even those signs, we've got people that have before on council minutes or meetings. If you don't come to this podium with this is what these prices are gonna be, they'll send you out till next month.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it because it was total chaos putting this agenda together.
cause I think I emailed you, must've been Tuesday, I think.
If you
I
got,
think it was Tuesday.
does it take you half a day, all day on Friday to put together if you guys left at normal hours?
It would take me, yeah,
So you need noon on Thursday would help a lot better, so you're not crunched for.
yeah, and I appreciate that noon on Thursday.
Okay.
And if we're making changes to the agenda, are we making changes during that time frame or not?
Not afternoon, should
Not
be.
afternoon
Not
on
after Thursday.
You have to bring it up to the next.
But
But
I
you
think
can
it
bring
should,
it up at
it
the
should be an
meeting.
option at the meeting,
At
at
the
the very
beginning where-
beginning.
There should be a thing on it. Is there any additions to the meeting?
Yep.
And then you
Or-
would list those.
And you,
Correct.
I do, I appreciate it, you guys. I'm serious because it was,
Here's just something I do, and you don't have to do this, but it's just something I do. So I do that cutoff noon on Thursday and send the packets out that day. And then Monday by noon, 1 o'clock, I'll have the additions page ready and just email that out with the total bills to be paid,
yeah, I mean,
updated.
it's good to have a process for real.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. That's just an
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Anita, can I?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that I can. Can I? Mr. Schultz? Andrew? She's asking for that statement back, change it. The one that, to make changes to this statement? No, yeah. I also wondered, Mr. Schultz,